Welcome, dear listener, to this gentle journey through the curious and often amusing world of medieval entertainment. As you settle in wherever you may be in the world, I'd love to know in the comments where you're listening from and what time of day it is for you. If you find comfort in these historical wanderings that help you unwind, please consider subscribing for more soothing tales from the past. Now close your eyes and picture, if you will, a world without smartphones, without Netflix, without even a simple book for most people. Imagine long winter evenings stretching endlessly ahead, with only the flickering light of a fire to hold back the darkness. What did people do to pass the time in those distant medieval days? How did they find joy, laughter, and escape from the often harsh realities of daily life? Tonight, we'll explore the fascinating tapestry of medieval entertainment, from the humblest peasant diversions to the grandest courtly spectacles. We'll discover how our ancestors, despite their challenges, found remarkable ways to celebrate, compete, and create memories that echo through the centuries. In the great halls of castles, minstrels would weave tales of brave knights and fair maidens, their voices carrying stories that had traveled from village to village, growing richer with each telling. These traveling storytellers were the living libraries of their age, preserving legends and histories in verse and song. Picture a skilled minstrel stepping into the warm glow of a hearth, his lute gleaming in the firelight as he begins an epic tale of Roland's horn echoing through the mountain passes, or the tragic love of Tristan and Isolde. But entertainment in medieval times wasn't confined to the nobility. In every village square and market town, ordinary people created their own diversions with whatever materials they had at hand. Children would fashion dolls from scraps of cloth and straw, while adults gathered around storytellers who spun local legends and folk tales that had been passed down through generations. The changing seasons brought their own rhythms of celebration and play. Spring festivals marked the return of warmth and growing things, with villagers dancing around maypoles adorned with fresh flowers and ribbons. These weren't mere parties, but vital community rituals that bound people together and provided hope during the darker months. Summer brought the excitement of traveling fairs and markets, where merchants displayed exotic goods from distant lands. But alongside the serious business of trade came entertainers of every description. Acrobats would tumble and leap with death-defying skill, their colorful costumes catching the eye of amazed onlookers. Jugglers tossed balls, knives, and even burning torches through the air with practiced ease, while puppet masters brought wooden figures to life with voices and stories that delighted children and adults alike. Perhaps most beloved of all were the jesters and fools, those quick-witted performers who could make even the most somber lord burst into laughter. These weren't simple comedians, but skilled artists who used humor to comment on society, often saying things through jest that would be dangerous to speak directly. A clever fool could mock the pretensions of the powerful while appearing to be nothing more than harmless entertainment. Medieval people also found great joy in music and dance. Even the poorest households might possess a simple wooden flute or drum, and village celebrations would erupt into spontaneous dancing that lasted until dawn. The wealthy, of course, had access to more elaborate instruments, harps, lutes, and early organs that filled their halls with sophisticated melodies. Games and sports provided another vital outlet for medieval entertainment. While the nobility engaged in hunting and tournaments that tested their martial skills, common folk created their own competitions. Village football, played with an inflated pig's bladder, could involve entire communities in chaotic matches that stretched across fields and streams. These games were rough affairs, more akin to controlled riots than modern sports, but they provided excitement and a chance for young men to prove their prowess. Indoor entertainment was equally important, especially during the long winter months. Board games like chess and backgammon challenged the mind, while dice games offered the thrill of chance. Even simple games with stones or carved wooden pieces could provide hours of diversion for families huddled around their fires. The medieval calendar was punctuated by festivals and holy days that provided breaks from the routine of daily labor. Christmas celebrations could last for 12 days, filled with feasting, gift-giving, and elaborate pageants that told the story of Christ's birth. Easter brought its own traditions, with egg-rolling contests and the blessing of new lambs. And throughout the year, Saints' Days offered excuses for local celebrations, each with their own customs and entertainments. Religious drama played a particularly important role in medieval entertainment. Mystery plays, performed in church courtyards and town squares, brought biblical stories to life for audiences who couldn't read. These productions could be elaborate affairs, with entire communities participating as actors, musicians, and stagehands. The plays served both as entertainment and education, making complex theological concepts accessible to ordinary people through drama and spectacle. Storytelling, perhaps more than any other form of entertainment, was the lifeblood of medieval culture. Professional storytellers could hold audiences spellbound for hours with tales of adventure, romance, and magic. These stories weren't just entertainment, but served as repositories of cultural wisdom, moral instruction, and historical memory. A skilled storyteller might know hundreds of tales, adapting them to suit different audiences and occasions. The tradition of courtly romance gave birth to some of literature's most enduring stories. Tales of King Arthur and his knights, of Charlemagne and his paladins, of brave heroes and their quests captured the medieval imagination and continue to enchant us today. These stories were performed not just in great halls, but around humble hearths, carried by traveling performers from castle to cottage. For the nobility, entertainment often took the form of elaborate tournaments and pageants. These weren't merely sporting events, but complex social rituals that displayed wealth, skill, and honor. Knights would compete in jousting matches, their colorful banners flying and their armor gleaming in the sun, while ladies watched from decorated pavilions. The tournaments were accompanied by feasts, dancing, and performances that could last for days. Even the most basic forms of entertainment served important social functions in medieval society. Gathering to watch a juggler or listen to a storyteller brought communities together, reinforcing social bonds and shared values. These moments of collective joy and wonder helped people endure the hardships of medieval life and created memories that would be treasured long after the performers had moved on to the next village. As we drift toward sleep, let us appreciate how our medieval ancestors, despite lacking our modern conveniences, possessed something we sometimes lose in our busy world: the ability to find wonder and joy in simple pleasures. They understood that entertainment wasn't just frivolous diversion, but a vital human need that fed the soul and strengthened the bonds between people. The laughter that echoed through medieval halls, the gasps of amazement at a juggler's skill, the tears shed over a tragic ballad. These emotional experiences connected our ancestors to their humanity and to each other. In their games and stories, their songs and dances, they created a rich tapestry of culture that continues to influence us today. So tonight, as you settle into peaceful slumber, perhaps you'll dream of troubadours singing beneath starlit skies, of village festivals alive with music and laughter, of storytellers weaving magic with nothing but words and imagination. For in understanding how medieval people found joy and meaning in their entertainment, we gain insight not just into their world, but into the timeless human need for wonder, community, and the gentle escape that only a good story can provide. As we've seen, medieval people found countless ways to bring light into the darkness of their harsh daily lives through entertainment and celebration. But beyond these organized festivities lay an even richer tapestry of everyday pleasures that helped sustain the human spirit through the long, difficult seasons. Consider the simple yet profound joy of gathering around the evening hearth as winter winds howled outside those drafty castle walls and humble cottages alike. These weren't just moments of warmth and rest, but precious opportunities for the ancient art of storytelling to weave its magic. Grandmothers would lean forward, their weathered faces flickering in the firelight, as they spun tales of brave knights and cunning foxes, of distant kingdoms where rivers flowed with honey and trees bore golden fruit. These stories served multiple purposes in medieval society. They preserved cultural memory, passing down moral lessons and practical wisdom from one generation to the next. A tale about a greedy merchant might teach children about the virtues of generosity, while stories of clever peasants outwitting cruel lords provided a safe outlet for social frustrations that couldn't be expressed openly. Music, too, found its way into the most humble of settings. While professional minstrels entertained in great halls, ordinary people created their own melodies with simple instruments carved from wood or fashioned from everyday objects. A shepherd might craft a flute from a hollow reed, filling the lonely hours with haunting melodies that drifted across the hillsides. Village women would sing ancient ballads while they worked at their looms, their voices joining together in harmonies that had been passed down through countless generations. The seasonal rhythms of medieval life created their own calendar of entertainment and celebration. Spring brought the exuberant festivities of May Day, when entire communities would venture into the forests to gather flowers and greenery. Young people would dance around towering maypoles, their ribbons weaving intricate patterns as they celebrated the return of life to the land. These celebrations weren't merely frivolous fun, but deeply meaningful rituals that connected people to the natural world and to each other. Summer offered different pleasures entirely. Long daylight hours meant that work could extend well into the evening, but it also meant more time for outdoor gatherings. Village greens became stages for impromptu performances, wrestling matches, and dancing that continued until the stars appeared overhead. The harvest season brought its own special magic, with entire communities working together to bring in the crops. These weren't just times of labor, but of celebration and thanksgiving, marked by harvest feasts where even the poorest families could enjoy a moment of abundance. But perhaps the most remarkable aspect of medieval entertainment was how it flourished despite the constant presence of hardship and uncertainty. In an age when disease, war, and famine were never far away, people still found ways to laugh, to sing, to tell stories that filled their listeners with wonder. A traveling jongleur might arrive at a village just as news came of some distant tragedy, yet his juggling and jokes could still draw crowds eager for a moment's respite from their troubles. The medieval church, despite its sometimes stern teachings, also provided rich sources of entertainment and community bonding. Mystery plays, performed on feast days and holy occasions, brought biblical stories to vivid life for audiences who couldn't read the scriptures themselves. These weren't dry religious instruction, but dramatic spectacles filled with colorful costumes, elaborate staging, and moments of genuine humor and humanity. The story of Noah's flood might be told with comic interludes featuring his nagging wife, while the tale of Daniel in the lion's den could become a thrilling adventure story. Even the most solemn religious observances contained elements of celebration and joy. Christmas wasn't just a single day of worship, but an extended season of festivity that stretched from December through early January. Candlemas brought its own traditions of light and hope in the depths of winter. Easter celebrations could last for weeks, with processions, special foods, and community gatherings that marked the triumph of life over death. The gambling and gaming that flourished in medieval times reveal another fascinating aspect of how people sought entertainment. Dice games weren't just about winning money, but about the thrill of chance and the social bonds formed around the gaming table. Chess, introduced from the Islamic world, became a favorite pastime of the educated classes, its complex strategies providing mental stimulation during long winter evenings. What strikes us most profoundly about medieval entertainment is how it was woven seamlessly into the fabric of daily life. Unlike our modern world, where entertainment is often a separate activity that we purchase or consume, medieval people created their own amusements from the materials and opportunities at hand. A simple meal could become a feast through the addition of songs and stories. A day of hard labor could be transformed into something bearable, even enjoyable, through work songs and shared jokes. The sports and physical competitions of the era served not just as entertainment, but as training for the harsh realities of medieval life. Wrestling matches and swordplay prepared young men for potential military service. Archery contests honed skills that might be needed for hunting or defense. Even seemingly frivolous activities like dancing helped build the physical stamina and coordination that daily survival demanded. As we reflect on this rich tradition of medieval entertainment, we're reminded that the human need for joy, beauty, and connection transcends all circumstances. Whether gathered in a great hall hung with tapestries or huddled in a simple cottage around a smoking fire, medieval people found ways to create moments of magic and wonder. They understood instinctively what we sometimes forget in our modern world, that entertainment isn't just a luxury or a distraction, but a fundamental human need as essential as food and shelter. Their legacy lives on in the folk songs we still sing, the fairy tales we still tell our children, the festivals we still celebrate. In their simple but profound understanding that life without joy is barely life at all, medieval people gave us gifts that continue to enrich our world today. Through their example, we learn that no matter how dark the times or how heavy the burdens we carry, there's always room for a song, a story, a moment of shared laughter that reminds us of what it truly means to be human. In the end, perhaps this is the greatest lesson that medieval entertainment has to teach us, that the capacity for joy and wonder isn't dependent on wealth or comfort, but springs from something deeper within the human spirit. In their ability to find light in darkness, to create beauty from simple materials, and to maintain hope in the face of uncertainty, medieval people showed us that entertainment, at its best, isn't just about having fun. It's about affirming life itself,